What's up, guys? Leon here. So I saw how much you guys liked my tier list video where I explained Bowser's different matchups in the game. So I figured I'd make content in similar style to that, this time talking about my thoughts on the meta, which characters I think are the most powerful, tournament winning characters, and which characters I think are a little lacking in power. So, yeah, with all these tiers, I'm going to try to loosely order it. I'm going to do the best I can to order each tier. I think it's kind of hard to order the characters in this game because there's just so many of them, and each character has their own certain strengths and weaknesses, which might work well against one character, but not so much against another. But I'll try my best to get a decent ordering of the tiers. So, the way that I've separated it is top tier, high tier plus, high tier minus, mid tier, low tier, and bottom tier. So, top tier, these characters are going to win the biggest tournaments. You can solo main these characters no problem. I think you can always benefit from a secondary here and there, but I think that the characters in this tier can do it all alone and are really, really good. The characters in this tier, I think, are also solo viable, still really good, just not quite as strong as the characters in the top tier, but still really strong characters. The characters here, I think, are still strong, but I think these characters will shine better with maybe a co-main or as a strong counterpick character, maybe. But still, they can get really far even without that. I think the characters in this tier are good. Mid tier is the more average power levels in the game, so it's kind of lacking compared to the tiers above them, but you can still work with the mid tier. I think that most characters in this game are viable or have their uses, so just because they're mid tier doesn't mean that they can't win or make it really far. Low tier is where things get a little harder. I think these characters are really lacking and their weaknesses are extremely exploitable usually. And then bottom tier is, why are you doing this to yourself? You're playing the game on impossible mode. It is impossible, not impossible, but really hard to make these characters that I'm going to put here work. And same to here to a lesser extent. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for clicking. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Please be nice. Okay. We can start off by talking about what I think is the best character in the game, Pyra/Mythra. Honestly, this to me is number one by far. I just think that the tools that they have going for them are just so crazy compared to everybody else. Mythra's frame data is so good, and the combos that she can get to rack up damage they just don't even feel fair sometimes. Once you're at a higher percent and she needs to kill you, she just switches off to Pyra most of the time, and Pyra does not struggle to kill. So the game plan is solid, and they just have the tools to make it work. Like I said, Mythra's frame data is crazy. Foresight is unfair. Foresight just bails them out of bad situations, while Mythra out of bad situations sometimes. Pyra's side B is really annoying. Personally, as Bowser, it's really hard to set up at the ledge against her because she just throws side B, so you have to shield it or get away from it, and you can't really ledge trap as easily, and I'm sure she does that to most of the cast, honestly, with that move. The only weakness that they have really at all is their recovery. The recovery is pretty exploitable by most characters, but even then, they still have a fair amount of mix on it. They can switch between the two to mix up their recovery, using Mythra's side B, for instance. But for the most part, the recovery is their biggest flaw. Outside of that, though, this character is insane, and honestly, I would put them as the best character in the game. My pick for the second best character in the game, Pikachu. This character is so hard to deal with. Maybe it's Bowser bias a little bit here because it's one of my worst matchups, but I feel like Pikachu has everything he needs to succeed in this meta. He's really small and hard to hit because he low profiles a lot of things. He has mobility like it's nobody's business. This guy can zip across the stage. He can recover from anywhere with all the mix on his recovery. Pikachu is broken. His projectile is really good. His kill power is not lacking whatsoever. This character does not struggle to kill. The Gimp potential, the confirms that he has, yeah, this character has everything you need in my opinion. His only weaknesses probably would be the fact that he's light, which is not the best thing sometimes because you die pretty early, but he's so nimble that it's hard to actually land kills on him sometimes. He also does have some bad or more tricky matchups in the game, but very few compared to a lot of other characters. So, all in all, I'd say Pikachu has everything he needs, really, to just be a top 3 threat in this game. In my opinion, the second best character in the game. My pick for number 3 in the game, Joker. Another crazy character. So, base Joker has one of the best, if not the best, neutral games in Ultimate. His neutral is crazy with gun and side B, and his mostly safe poking tools. So, yeah, really hard to deal with Joker in neutral. And then, once he racks up enough damage, or he gets some good counters in against you, he will get Arsene. And Arsene, everybody knows, Arsene is just so broken. The damage output of this character, the kill power, the fact that he gets a counter reflector for his down B, the confirms that he opens up, yeah, Arsene is nuts. The recovery is not incredible, but it actually is pretty damn good. He turns invulnerable or something during the startup of the move, so you can't even hit him during that part. And it goes a fair distance too, so I would say pretty damn good recovery. Honestly, the only real drawbacks Joker really has is maybe being light, maybe, and then not doing the most damage in base Joker form, but still having all these crazy confirms, drag down combos, even in base Joker form that, yeah, I don't really think this character has many weaknesses. He just has a few rough matchups, as most characters do, but for the most part, yeah, I think easy top 3. I think this is probably mostly the universally agreed upon top 3. I think most people would agree that this is the top 3 in the game. I think these characters are in a league of their own with how good they are. And there is a bit of a drop-off after these characters, in my opinion. But, yeah, it's super top tier. So like I said, I think there is a drop in power level after these 3 characters. But the rest of the characters in the top tier are still really good. So, number 4 in the game, this is where things kind of start to get a bit hazy, because I would say most people would agree on this being the top 3, but then everything else after that is where it becomes a big mess. But I think that a few characters really stand out to me as being top 5, or at least really close to it, and one of those characters is Wolf. I think Wolf is a really clean character. He honestly has pretty much everything you need to win in this game. He has really good low percent combos out of grab. He has a transcendent projectile that is really hard to deal with if you don't have a reflector. He has 2 framing options, disjoints. This character is clean. He has a down B reflector for that added bit of versatility. Wolf's only real issue is the Pyramithra issue, where his recovery is really exploitable. It's kind of telegraphed a lot of times. You can 2-frame it pretty easily. So yeah, it's almost like Wolf has this built-in win condition against him, where the question becomes, how good is your character at gimping Wolf or intercepting his recovery? And it turns out a lot of characters are, so it makes for an annoying time as a Wolf main, I'm sure. But outside of that, this character is really good, really strong. Personally, I think, if not top 5, just outside of it, with how strong I see this character. Okay, this is gonna be a fun one. This is my hot take for the 5th best character, probably actually the 5th best character in the game. A lot of people would disagree, but I've seen some people who do agree. Mii Gunner. No, I'm kidding. Rob. Honestly, Rob, I know a lot of people are going to look at this and say, wow, you really think Rob is top 5? Rob's not top 5? No way. Rob is just good. Rob is so freaking good. His zoning tools are so obnoxious and hard to deal with. Like, yeah, you can kind of use gyro against him a little bit. Sure. But he gets more control of it in the end of the day because he's the one choosing when to throw it out. And he's able to charge it. So, yeah. He can mix up with it really hard. Gyro is crazy. You've seen it. You've seen the Rob Zero to Death. You've seen what he can do off of one silly combo with that gyro. So yeah, insane. And then outside of that, if the window for those crazy combos passes, he still has down throw. Down throw to bury you in the ground. Are you serious? And then out of that, he has confirms. He can do up air, down throw, up air, kill confirm. If you are a bit slow in the mash or you choose not to mash, he can smash attack you. Up tilt into up air, out of down throw. This character's crazy. His recovery goes really far, and it's actually not super hard to contest, but it's harder than you would think. At least it's harder for me than maybe it should be, but I have a lot of trouble hitting his recovery consistently. I really do. He can kind of stall with it. He can throw out up air preemptively to stop you from hitting him. So yeah, his only real weakness, in my opinion, outside of maybe anti-zoning or maybe characters that combo him a lot, well, that's the thing. His biggest weakness is Rob is big, all right? I said it. He's big. And I feel like that is his biggest weaknesses. He gets comboed a lot. He gets confirmed into things really easily. So, yeah, it is exploitable. But I still think this character is busted. And we've seen it. This character top 8s all the time. This character has won huge tournaments. This character has a bunch of high-level reps. I think Rob is top 5. Moving down the list, this is another character I think is top 10 somewhere in the top 10. I guess we have her here at number 6. Palutena, another character that just has so much versatility. The aerials are so oppressive. Back air just stuffs out everything. Neutral air is one of the best combo aerials in the game and just links into itself, beats out a lot of moves. Yeah, her aerials are broken. Up air is a really good disjoint. Her down air is alright, but just overall her aerials are just some of the best in the game. Outside of that, she has good versatility with the teleport recovery, a down B counter reflector, and just a lot of armor. Mainly her back air and dash attack armor, but it still comes in handy a lot. So, yeah, she's just got it all going on. She doesn't struggle to kill. Her back throw kills pretty consistently. This character is just nice. This character winds up gatekeeping a lot of other types of characters. I think she's really good against zoners, really good against heavies. Yeah, she's just that character. Just super oppressive. So I think she's easily in the top 10. I definitely don't want to go too far into the top tier without talking about this character, Peach. I think even though Peach, some might say she fell off a little bit, it's a bit controversial, but I still think that this character is top 10 because just her kit is so ridiculous. Her combo game is so explosive. She gets a stray hit and she's just doing 1,000,000% to you. Float is broken. Honestly, it's so broken. Just being able to kind of weave around your opponent so well and recover from anywhere and edge guard with turnips. Oh my god. This character is ridiculous. This character is still top tier as hell. I guess having lost the best Peach rep might sort of maybe have people thinking less of her or forgetting about her maybe, but Mutace is still in contention for top 20, 30, or even better. Mutace is really, really good with this character and shows us just how strong Peach actually can be. So, yeah, we don't see those same results, those same peaks from this character, but they were there. So I think that this character is really, really good, really explosive, versatile, has a lot of tools to cover almost any matchup. I guess she does struggle a bit against zoning. Zoning is really annoying for her. So the good zoning characters, maybe they don't beat her, but I can see characters like Belmonts, Banjo even, Pac-Man. I could see those characters giving her a hard time just because they set up so much and she really needs to get in, but they don't really let her. But even then, I still think she has what it takes to be competitive in those matchups either way. So, crazy character. I think still top 10. So, this character is very top tier. I'm going to say top 10. We're talking Roy. Roy is just crazy. The speed, the damage output, the kill power, the confirms. This character is nuts. This character honestly is just like a freight train. Like once he starts moving and hitting you, there's just no stopping. Just so much aggression and power that Roy has. And honestly, we've seen this character win some humongous tournaments between Cola and Goblin, always making top 8. We've seen this character do a lot of work. So I think calling Roy top tier is not too far-fetched at all. And top 10, I think, is a good place for him. Just with the crazy raw kill power that this character has. His weakness, sour spots, could be a little iffy sometimes. So sometimes they might mess up your confirms, or people don't get sent out as far as you want them to maybe, but you can still work with sour spots and use them to your favor. So they're not even really that bad for him sometimes. His recovery, though, is pretty exploitable. A lot of characters can two-frame it or intercept it really easily. That's the problem with a few of these top tiers, is their recovery is lacking, I guess, to balance how crazy they are on stage. So, yeah, outside of the recovery, Roy is just a monster, honestly. This is going to be a surprise character. Some people might not expect me to put this character this high, but I'm going to put Sonic here. So I think Sonic is a top tier. I think Sonic is crazy good. To call him top 10 might be debatable, but I think this character at the very least has everything you need to be top tier. His movement is insane. His movement options, his speed, it's just ridiculous. The pressure that he can apply so safely, his hit and run kind of bully you with spin dash a bit and just safely poke you and get away with it. It's so hard to deal with it. This character has so much mix on his approach, and it just, personally, when I fight Sonic, my brain is just fried. Just trying to think about what option he's going to use. 20 of his moves are a spinning ball, so it's kind of hard to just always tell what he's going to do. Yeah, Sonic is really hard to deal with. Maybe his biggest flaw is Sonic is not very good at making comebacks at all. So Sonic playing from behind is really rough, because then you have to get in as Sonic and approach, and if you're impatient, you're going to get punished for it a lot. So maybe Sonic with a lead, without a lead, is not the best, but when he has a lead, this character can just drain you of your will to live, honestly. Especially on Wi-Fi. So, yeah, Sonic is really good. I'm a Sonic believer. I think Sonic is a super top tier character just because of his movement, his combos, his kill power. He doesn't really struggle to kill, but sometimes he can kind of struggle to find it. I would say he has like average level kill power, but it's not bad by any means. So, yeah, Sonic I think is up here. Speaking of crazy characters that I personally think are top tier, I'm going to put Shulk up here. I think Shulk is really, really good. A bit unexplored, though, compared to the rest of these characters. These characters all have really good, really high peaks in terms of results. Shulk, outside of Kome, hasn't really seen that. Kome, I think, is the closest to optimizing Shulk, I guess. I think that is like a really hard thing to actually do. I think Shulk can do so much, though. Nico's really good too, but I haven't seen him as much lately. But Kome is the best Shulk, obviously, and he's shown a fraction of this character's power, I think. Just the mix that you get out of Monado Arts, speed to kind of mix up your approaches and just be ambiguous with your gameplay and just get faster, obviously. Jump to recover. Shield Monado gets you out of some multi-hits. I don't know how a lot of other characters work, but I know for a fact Shulk can shield Monado out of Bowser up B. I hate this guy. Why are you able to do that? Just blows my mind that he can do that. So that's pretty crazy with shield. And then if he needs a quick kill, he goes to smash mode. Yeah, it makes him lighter, but if he's not in kill percent and you are, you're gonna die from anything. You're gonna die from anything. So this character, yeah, this character is nuts. I think this character will get better as time goes on. Maybe. I could be wrong, but I think this character has a lot of potential, as people have been saying since Smash 4. But I really do think that this character is that good and that hard to fight. It's personally, when I fight Shulk, it always feels really hard if the Shulk is really good. So like I said, I'm trying to loosely order this. It gets really hard within tiers to make a consistent ordering of how good I think the characters are, but I'm trying my best. So this is another character I think is really crazy, and honestly, I don't know what's been happening with this character. People have been dropping this character or saying this character is not that good. I disagree. I've always thought that this character was broken, and we saw what Quid can do. I have known about Quid for a while now, and I personally always thought he was the best PT, and he's kind of showing it too. He's showing what PT can do. We have Atelier in Japan that places high or wins tournaments over there. This character is really good. 3 different characters with their own strengths and weaknesses. You have Squirtle's frame data, you have Ivysaur's explosive kill power, and Charizard's kill power and durability. Yeah, I think that this character, the 3 characters, sure, they each have their weaknesses, but I think as a unit, as packed into one character, I think that they offset each other's weaknesses very well. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of this character personally. I think this character is top tier. Again, it's kind of hard to order within the tiers, but I would roughly say this is where I think PT stands right now. Pac-Man is another character I think is top tier. I think this character is the best setup type zoner character in the game. So Pac-Man is just really, really hard to fight because he just puts down Hydrant, charges up Fruit, sets up his mini game, and it's just so hard to deal with it. He has so much mix with his neutral B. He can choose to throw an easy little projectile at you like the cherries or the orange, but then he can also choose to use the Galaga to try to get a crazy setup and rack up a bunch of damage. He can use the Bell to stun you and either confirm you into something or just straight up smash attack you. And then he has the Key, which is basically just a strong charge shot move. So that alone is so much versatility right there in his neutral B alone. But Hydrant, you can set up with it, you can use it to ledge trap, you can use it as a projectile. His recovery is really solid, it goes very far. Pretty hard to gimp. So yeah, I think this character just has everything he needs, honestly. Sometimes he runs into trouble if a character is good at using his setups against him, maybe. Like, I personally think Bowser beats Pac-Man, or at the worst does really well against him, because Bowser controls his Hydrant and Fruit really well, because Bowser's so good at knocking around Hydrant, so you can kind of play your own game with it. So maybe Pac-Man struggles there a little bit. Maybe against anti-zoning he has a bit of trouble too, so possibly the Spaceys maybe. But overall, I think that this character is well equipped to win pretty much any matchup and make it really far in tournament. The last character that I will be adding to the top tier section, Solid Snake, the other best zoner setup type character in the game. This character, initially I was going to put him in the high tier section because his disadvantage is a little exploitable. His recovery is more exploitable than most people make it look like it is. You can hit his Cypher. If you hit it with a strong enough move, it'll just break. You can just run out and whack him with an aerial. And it can be a little tricky for him to land sometimes, but even then he has a lot of mix on his landing with his B-reverse and his grenades. So I would say that those might be his biggest flaws, maybe, are possibly recovering and landing. And also he's a bit bigger, on the bigger side, sort of. But outside of that, this character, in my opinion, has way more pros than cons. Pro number 1, his grenade. Frame 1 combo breaker projectile. You can set up with it, you can use it aggressively. You can hold on to it so your opponent doesn't get as much control over it. Grenade is actually insane. Grenade, if I were making a projectile tier list, Grenade would be the best or a top 3 projectile in the game. That's how good I think Snake Grenade is. So he has one of the best projectiles in the game. His normals are so strong. That down air though, those tilts, that up tilt, are you serious? This character can box with you as well as he can zone you out. And then his edge guarding, Nikita, it's so free on a lot of characters. A lot of characters just have to hold the Nikita because he can just, it's just so free. It's so free. The ledge trapping with up smash, grenade, C4, the mix-ups. This character encourages so much creativity. I think Snake is probably one of the most creative characters in the game because of the mix that you can get by sticking people with your down throw, tech chase. This character, man, he's really good. It's sort of like a Peach situation where we saw him sort of fall off from those god tier results, but we saw that he has it in him to get there. So I honestly think that this is still a top tier character, but in my eyes, he's probably around the end of top tier. Since I'm trying to order it, I think he's one of the weaker top tiers, but none of these characters are weak by any means. These are all really good characters that can or have won S tiers, basically, or at least made it to the top 3. So yeah, this is the top tier right here. We're going to get into the high tier plus section. Again, these are characters I think are really, really good, but maybe missing a little bit compared to the top tiers, maybe a little bit more bad matchups, but still really, really good. So I think one of the most gatekeeper characters into top tier would be Mr. Game & Watch. I think this character is crazy. He has pretty much everything he needs in almost any matchup. He has some of the best edge guarding in the game. He has crazy low percent grab combos. He's not lacking in kill power at all. He can 2-frame. He can just kill you at ridiculous percents. He has a bit of RNG built into his kit too. This character is really good, and his bucket makes it so that has a really versatile matchup spread. So he's really good against Pikachu, any zoners, the PK kids. His spread is really good. I think he could be maybe a little bit polarizing though, because I think he does have some really hard matchups. But at the end of the day, I think this is close to being a top tier, or just top tier. Honestly, it's one of the characters where if people wanted to debate and say, well, Leon, I think that's actually a top tier, sure, you got it. I just put him here though because I think he struggles a bit more than the characters above him. Another character I think is one of those gatekeepers that could easily probably just straight up be a top tier, not even a high tier, is Mario. He's clearly one of the best characters in the game. He has a devastating combo game. His edge guard potential with Cape and Flood is insane. His 2-framing ability with like dash attack is nice. Got a lot of versatility in his kit. The confirms, a frame 3 up B out of shield. Mario has a lot of really strong tools, and people have argued with me about this and said that he is just a top tier. I could see it. I'm not against it. I put him here because I think he does struggle a bit more than these characters. I think his range kind of holds him back sometimes. His recovery is a little bit limited, but for the most part, he's just a really strong character. And even the harder matchups, which I think swords give him a really hard time, but even those, he can outplay them just with the strength of his kit and can overcome them. But I personally see him as struggling a bit more than the characters above him. Another character I personally think is really strong and deserving of, at worst, the higher end of high tier, Lucina. Lucina, just a super solid character. Sword character, so she's full of disjoints, so she can space really well in neutral and kind of hit you with safe pressure. She has a shield breaker move too, so you can't shield for free against this character. So it could be really tough to deal with Lucina. In the Bowser matchup, for instance, I can't even really two-frame her with F-tilt as easily as other characters. I don't even know if you can because her recovery just beats it out. So it can be kind of hard to ledge trap this character for me personally. And then also her drop-down counter. This character is just so good at edge guarding, honestly. I think that's one of her biggest strengths is her edge guarding. If you have a recovery that has a hitbox, she's just going to drop down counter and you just die a lot of times. It's really hard for a lot of heavy mains, for instance, because Bowser, Donkey Kong, they have hitboxes on their up B, so she just drop down counter is just free. So it's a really hard situation to deal with. And even without that, her fair and back air are really good for edge guarding. So her edge guarding is really strong, her neutral is really strong. Yeah, I think this character is just really strong overall. Some people have called it Bowser main bias, but regardless of that, I think this character is really powerful. Yes, it's true, the matchup does suck for me, but think about Wario as a character. He has low percent combos with his up throw, just some bread and butter stuff, you know. If he hits you with Nair, he can combo off that. He has a command grab that's really, comes out really fast and it heals him when he gets it. He has crazy airspeed. His recovery is really good. He has a lot of mix on his recovery because he has up B, then he has his bike, and worst comes to worst, he can recover with Waft, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's still a mix-up. And then, of course, like I said, Waft is just, it's literally Final Smash meter. So you kind of just play this game where you are almost guaranteed a stock if you're efficient enough at getting your combos. Definitely against Bowser or other super heavies, you really shouldn't be missing your Waft. So, I mean, it still happens, but yeah, a lot of times, more often than not, you're gonna get a stock due to Waft. So it makes playing against Wario really hard, and this character is so good in clutch comeback situations because he can just kill you so early with Waft. So I personally believe in this character very much. I think this character is very good. Originally, when I made the list, I had him in top tier, but a lot of people seem to disagree, and maybe I could see, maybe not entirely top tier, but I still think he's one of the best in the game. You can't get through the top tier / high tier section of the game without talking about Min Min. Min Min is pretty broken. She plays a really interesting game. I think her and Steve, more than most other characters, don't even really play Smash Bros. They kind of play their own game. And in Min Min's case, Min Min just has the longest range of anyone on the roster, I'm pretty sure. So she can just sit across the stage from you and put on pressure with projectiles that aren't actually projectiles because you can't reflect them. They're more like huge disjoints that you can kind of clank with too. But yeah, just her being able to do that and wall out so many characters and just not let you get in, honestly just makes her so difficult to fight against. And she's really, really good against zoners. Like, she is one of the most anti-zoner characters in the game because her arms make it so that she doesn't really need to worry about going in at all. So she can kind of just beat out their projectiles and sit back while they're the ones who are forced to figure out how to deal with it. And for some reason, her up smash is a reflector too. So she has that. So yeah, Min Min is pretty broken, pretty good. She does struggle a bit if you're able to get in on her. So maybe Rushdown is trickier for her because they can kind of just make their way in, and Min Min up close doesn't really have as much. I know her Nair is alright for that, I guess. Her up smash is frame 5 or 6, I forgot. But her up smash is pretty fast, but it's still like, she can't really box with characters like that. So if you have, I could see maybe a Roy kind of character giving her trouble just always running in. But even without that, I still think she could do fine against those characters. Really strong character, and just such a strong anti-zoner character that I think she's no worse than high tier. Another great character, and the second best of the Spaceys, Fox. I think Fox is a really, really solid character, really strong. He has pretty good ground speed, he can rush you down well. He has huge strings that he can get from when he juggles you with up air. So yeah, he can put out a lot of damage. He has a reflector for that nice versatility that we love in this game. We love versatility in a game full of a million zoners and really good projectiles, so that reflector is always a good thing to have. Fox's biggest issues, we all know Fox's weakness, his recovery, very, very exploitable. Side B, up B, very telegraphed, very slow, punishable. You could 2-frame up B really consistent. Pretty much every character has some counterplay to up B, whether it's a counter or a 2-framing move or just a down air. Recovering is the bane of Fox's existence, that coupled with how light he is. But outside of those things, I think his speed, his kill power, his confirms, the pressure this character can put on, yeah. And his versatility with down B, I think Fox is a really strong character, honestly. I don't see him any worse than being in the high tier section, but I think probably his recovery probably limits him from being a top tier. So this next character I still think is really good. Maybe a little overrated when they came out, but I still think is a solid high tier character, Sephiroth. I think Sephiroth's really strong, but I probably put him more towards the middle of the high tier section as opposed to closer to top tier, because he is really light and tall, so sometimes he kind of just explodes and gets hit by some ridiculous stuff. And he does kind of struggle dealing with rushdown type stuff, sort of similar to Min Min, where characters that are good at getting in on him, he's not really that good up close. What does he have up close? Nair at a shield. That footstool down air thing that people have been doing does look pretty cool, but I think this character does struggle a bit. And being tall and light is not really ideal. I think that's one of his bigger weaknesses, but then also just having such trouble dealing with smaller characters in Rushdown, I think makes Sephiroth a little worse than his top tier counterparts, but still a really good character. It's really strong because his kill power, his range, his zoning tools, and wing, crazy. So I don't see him being any worse than a high tier, but he does struggle a bit compared to the characters above him. Diddy Kong. This character is high tier as hell. Great mobility. Really good setup / item gameplay with his down B and neutral B. Monkey Flip is a really hard move to deal with. It's a command grab that you can turn into this flying hitbox kind of thing. So he can pretty much constantly mix you up with that. Yeah, Diddy just has a lot of mix, a lot of good confirms, a lot of easy damage combos. Diddy just has a lot of stuff on top of being small and nimble. So it's hard to deal with Diddy, honestly. Diddy just works a lot of characters. He could be really hard to just consistently catch and ledge trap and things like that. This is one of my personal least favorite matchups to play because of how hard it is for me. But yeah, maybe a little lacking compared to the other top tiers, but still really solid. Good matchup spread. And he's a pretty common character. I feel like we see a lot of Diddy, whether it's Tweak or Aaron or Zenodo or any of the other notable Diddies. Diddy usually makes it pretty far in tournaments, so I think this is a good place for him. Some might argue that Zero Suit has fallen off because of the nerfs, and maybe that is true. I still think she's a very solid high tier character though. I think this character just has a lot going for her to really be that bad even after the nerfs. She has some pretty safe, pretty good pressure. She doesn't struggle to rack up damage at all, and her down B is a really good movement option. That down B, with or without the nerfs, that down B is really hard to deal with, and it can confirm into Nair flip kick. It's good for getting you off the ledge, good for mixing up. Yeah, Zero Suit is still nice. Zero Suit's still nice. The nerfs definitely hurt her a bit, but I still think she's a really solid character, just even after the nerfs. Alright, next up, everybody's favorite character. I'm gonna put Steve here. Some people look at this and think that I'm putting Steve too low, probably. A lot of people put him in their top tier or straight up just outside of it. I think Steve is really good, and I think we haven't even begun to see what Steve is truly capable of. I think right now this is a fine place for him because, I mean, results-wise, we haven't really seen super consistent levels of play from Steve at a high level. There are some really, really talented Steves, really good Steves that win their locals or place good at other tournaments. But he definitely doesn't have those top tier results yet. And results aside, I think Steve is still good, but he does struggle in some matchups or against some playstyles. I think Hero is a good example of that. Hero being a counterpick to Steve because Hero can just sit there and buff up and he has the range to deal with Steve's shenanigans. So I think Steve does have some weaknesses and some tricky matchups. But even with all that aside, I think his kill power, his damage output is among the best in the game. His edge guarding, ledge trapping is pretty good. And minecart is really hard to deal with. Projectile command grab, yeah, with a hitbox on it, so it can kill you, it can grab you out of shield. It's crazy. Steve is a really good character. And honestly, as his meta develops, I'd be more inclined to push him up the tier list, but I don't want to overrate him right now. So I think this is a good spot for him. Another character that I think belongs in this high tier section, Greninja. I think this character might be a little underrated right now because this character is nice. This character has strong combos, a really good juggle game, really good edge guarding with counter. They can counter any recovery with a hitbox and go downwards, like angle the counter downwards and spike you with it and still make it back. As a Bowser main, it is very painful. So yeah, character has a lot of tools, a lot of mix. They're quick and hard to hit. The recovery is not amazing, but it's really not bad at all. So I think Greninja is well equipped to win in this game, honestly. I think Greninja just has the speed, the kill power, the combo game, the edge guarding. Yeah, the only real weaknesses they have, Greninja's a bit on the lighter side, and the recovery can kind of get blown up sometimes, maybe if you two-frame it, or if you anticipate when and how they're going to use it, you can intercept it. But I still think this character is really strong, and honestly, I think we'll probably see more Greninja in the future. I'm not sure exactly why we don't see as much now, because I really do believe that this character is crazy. I think this character can do it, you know? But I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Alright, I think this character is also really clean, and a lot of people, I've seen people disagree on this and put this character in the mid-tier section, but I'm just like, man, come on, this character is nice. You guys are sleeping. Mega Man. Mega Man sort of doesn't really get the results. Yeti used to be really good, but Yeti stopped playing. Kamehameha in Japan, though, is still really good with the character. But outside of that, we don't really see Mega Man that much. We have Peanut. Peanut is good, too. But, I don't know. I think a lot of people just sleep on this character. And I think shouldn't be the case. He's crazy. His projectiles are really strong. His kill power, this guy can explode on you. His platform pressure is nice with up air. His recovery is okay. It's not horrible, but it's not bad at all. And he's pretty strong, like pretty heavy, so he can take a beating, and he does not struggle to kill. So I think this character is good. Leaf Shield is so annoying. Metal Blade can confirm into stuff or just lead to some wacky setups. So yeah, I think this character is good. I think this character is a little slept on right now. But I would say easy high tier, and I think the upper, closer to middle high tier, but still just very good, in my opinion. We're going to put Olimar here as well. Olimar, pretty powerful character. Lots of chip damage with his Pikmin. Purple Pikmin is just some explosive power. I think this character is pretty good. His down B is a nice little get out of jail option sometimes with the armor that it has on it, so that is always something to keep in mind. And just the damage output of this character, honestly, I think that's one of the things about him. His damage output is really good. He starts throwing Pikmin on you that do chip damage, and if he gets an up smash, he can just do a million damage off of that. Pretty good grab combos too. So yeah, I think that he's just a really solid character. And he's small too, so small hitbox means he's harder to hit sometimes and harder to confirm into things, especially with his down B. But yeah, I think Olimar is just a really good character. He has a lot of really good matchups. He does have some harder matchups, which I think any character in this tier does. Any character in general does, but I think the characters in this tier, their harder matchups are a bit harder, if you know what I mean. But still, I think he's just a very strong character with his damage output and kill power. Blue Pikmin up throws as a win condition all the time, and being able to do so much chip damage with your Pikmin, yeah, I think he's just really strong. Next up, we have Chrom. This character is there's very little rep for this character. There's some Chroms here and there, Rivers being probably the most notable one. But we really don't get to see Chrom, and I think it's strange because I think Chrom is actually a really, really good character. He has the same kit as Roy, obviously, but without sour spots. So I think that actually winds up helping him, or at least making him obviously a totally different character from Roy. But that makes his confirms more consistent. That makes his damage and his knockback more consistent. So I think Chrom is really good. I think Chrom is just a really strong, oppressive character. He's got a sword. He's got a lot of really good ground speed. He's somewhat heavy, so he doesn't die that easily. The problem with Chrom, the big gaping hole in his game plan, obviously, is his recovery. His recovery is actually, like, really bad. It is not good. He has an up B that goes straight up. It's super easy to hit, kind of like Ike's. But unlike Ike, he doesn't have the side B to offset that. So a lot of times when he recovers, he's forced to air dodge. Because if he up Bs, he basically just should die against a lot of characters. Counters just destroy it for the most part, unless he gets some cheese or something, I don't know. Or like Bowser, I can just stick out Flame Breath and tilts and stuff, and can't really do much about that. So yeah, this character very strong, very good kit, fast, durable. I think his biggest issue is just his recovery, and I think his recovery actually really does hold him back that much because it is that bad, in my opinion. Oops. Terry Bogard. I think Terry is the best FGC character, probably by far. Terry is really strong. When he's in kill percent, he gets Go, which opens up two really powerful moves for him, being Power Geyser and Buster Wolf, that he can confirm into both of them with his moves. So I think that's really strong, being able to do that. And outside of that, Terry actually has pretty good movement with his crack shoot. So he can get in a lot easier compared to the other FGC characters. So I personally think he's the best one because of his movement and his easy bake, super easy kill confirms and setups with his Go meter. He's still going to wind up struggling against the same things that the other FGC characters do, which is like zoning and disjoints and things like that. But I think thanks to Crack Shoot being able to just cover so much distance, I think he does better than the other ones. So I think this is just a good character, you know? So yeah, sometimes his range and his recovery can get exploited, but outside of that, he's a beast. He hits really hard, and he can move, so don't sleep on this character ever. So we're going to get into the high tier minus. I think that the characters in here are still really good, like I said before, but are a bit further off from being solo viable, and I think the characters I'm going to put here would really shine with a strong secondary, co-main kind of thing. But they could still get really far on their own. I don't think that they're not solo viable, but it's a lot harder for them than it is for the tiers above. To start off this tier, I'm going to put Sheik. I think Sheik is really strong, but I don't think that she is a top tier like people have been raving about. And I think she's one of the weaker high tiers, honestly. She has pretty good frame data, and her movement is nice. Her recovery is really good. I think the problems with this character, though, is she's light, which is a weakness, but it's not the end of the world if you're light. But I think she also, it's not that she struggles to kill per se, because she has really good setups, and if you're really clean with it, you can secure kills with drag downs and stuff like that. But I would say she has to work a bit harder to get her kills than the characters above her. So it's not that she can't kill, it's a bit harder for her. Does that make any sense? You need to be more big brain to unlock her kill options, whereas the characters above are just going to cheese you or just hit you with a really easy, strong, consistent option without having to think as much as Sheik does. So I think Sheik is still a strong character. I just don't think that Sheik is on the same power level as the ones above her. I think people might be overrating her a little bit, but she is not bad. She is not a mid tier, not a low tier. I just think that she's right around here, sort of the middle to low part of high tier. Another great character, Cloud. Cloud is really strong. A lot of people might have slept on him a bit in the beginning of the game, but we've started to really see Cloud's strength. His range, his power, his limit mechanic are really strong and very good in a lot of matchups. I think Cloud's recovery is a bit telegraphed though, which is his big glaring weakness. But we have seen Cloud being used in, I think, probably the best way recently with Cola and Spargo, where they kind of have Cloud as this pocket co-main kind of thing for if they're not totally comfortable with their main, they go Cloud. And I think that that is an excellent use for Cloud as sort of a counterpick co-main kind of thing, where if you're not entirely confident in one matchup, you just pull out Cloud and he has the range and the kill power. Like, I know Cola likes to go Cloud against Peach because Cloud's really good at just outranging Peach and stuffing her out, compared to Roy, who needs to be a little bit closer and get on top of her to really start his damage. But yeah, so I think Cloud is strong. I think he really shines if you have a character to play alongside him, but I also think you can get really far just playing Cloud. Like, I think he's just good. He's a sword character, good range, and Limit is just busted. Just so good at making comebacks or helping you recover whatever you need with that move. So yeah, I think Limit is solid, Cloud is solid. So this character is super versatile, pretty decent matchup spread with some glaring weaknesses. Ness, I think, is still just a strong character. The PK kids, Ness and Lucas, are really good in some matchups. If it's an energy using zoner, so maybe Mega Man, Pika's not a zoner, but Ness is really good against Pika. Yeah, I think Ness has some pretty good matchups, and I think he's just overall a really solid character. Doesn't struggle to kill at all. Some of the best edge guard in the game with Yo-Yo. He is a little telegraphed because his recovery is kind of easy to hit, and he doesn't have much range, which is a problem for him, but he can just make it work with his annoying projectile game, his back throw being such a reliable kill option, his down B giving him the versatility in a lot of matchups to invalidate some projectiles and heal in the process of doing that. This character is pretty dang good. Can he do it alone? Maybe. I could see Ness players getting really far in tournament, but he does have some pretty obvious weaknesses, which is why I would not put him any higher than this tier. But we all know Ness is not a mid tier, so I think this tier is a fine place for him. Alright, everybody's favorite sleeper high tier character that everyone thought was bad, Byleth. This character is more than likely just straight up high tier. I think, despite what we've seen from Leo, one of the weaker high tiers, but still nonetheless, this character has a lot of tools at their disposal. Tether recovery is really hard to actually hit. The up B confirms are crazy. The range, the kill power. This character, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it from Leo. We've seen what Leo can do with this character. We've seen this character reach the pinnacle of Smash Brothers. We've seen this character win some of the craziest tournaments. So, yeah, Byleth, definitely a good character. Not a low tier, not a mid tier. I definitely would hesitate to put her in the top tier, and even the high tier, the upper high tier section, I would hesitate to put her there. I think she's closer to the middle or bottom of high tier, but still, really good character. Strong, good recovery, good range. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the potential of this character, so not bad. All right, it's the captain, Captain Falcon. I think Captain Falcon is just a good character, just all around. He's got speed, he's got kill power, he's got that command grab, he's got crazy confirms. Yeah, Falcon is just good. He can rush you down really well. He just stomp into knee and things like that. He's just so powerful. and he doesn't struggle to kill. So Falcon, just solid character, honestly. I think Falcon obviously does struggle. There's some matchups that are just really not fun for Falcon, like Game & Watch. But bad matchups aside, I think Falcon has the tools to make it really far in bracket and even overcome those bad matchups. It's definitely a bit harder for him with him being combo fodder and his recovery being a little exploitable. But yeah, I also think that he's sort of forced to go in and hold forward, which is something a lot of characters have working against them. But he can really make it work for him just with his speed and damage output. So yeah, Falcon definitely makes it work. I think he's just a solid high tier character. I'm gonna put Falco here. Despite being, in my opinion, the worst of the Spaceys, I think Falco still has really good tools to make it really far in bracket. He has his annoying laser, which sort of kind of forces you to approach sometimes. He has his reflector for your projectiles, and above all, we all know about the cutscene. Falco can just blender you for 1,000,000 damage off of one hit. He's going to fish for up tilt. Then once you're at 80, 90, he can start fishing for up tilt back air, kill you, just explode your stocks. He has some drag down stuff that confirms into grab. He's just, this character has so much mix, honestly. So much creativity you can have playing this character. Sure, his neutral is a bit lacking, and his recovery is very exploitable, like the other Spaceys, but I just still think he has enough strength to really work and get far in bracket. So yeah, I think Falco's a nice character, a clean character, just because of his insane damage output, a little bit of versatility with his reflector, and he also has one of the highest jumps in the game too, so he can make it back from pretty deep. It's just having to recover with up B and side B sometimes is punishable, but nonetheless, I still think this character is just good. Just straight up just good. Everybody loves this character, Yoshi. Yoshi is, in my opinion, middle of high tier, maybe towards the bottom of high tier. Yoshi is a good character. He has his double jump armor, which is really annoying to deal with. He has a devastating combo game. He gets you with one hit at a low percent, and he can just string you into a bunch of other stuff. And then he eventually gets kill confirms with up tilt to up air, which is good. He also has a command grab. So yeah, you can't rely on shields too much against Yoshi. He has a command grab, he has his down B, which can break shields too. This character has a lot of good stuff going for him, a lot of mix. I guess maybe he gets a little telegraphed, or he starts to struggle a bit because he doesn't have the best range in the game. So that's probably one of the things holding him back. I think he struggles with disjoints like swords, so sword characters give him a hard time, and some zoners give him a hard time. I wouldn't say all zoners, but I remember I was playing an Elite Smash Samus as Yoshi, and it just felt impossible to do anything. So I feel like characters that can kind of keep him out and stop him from getting his explosive combo game started on you or getting his confirms, they really do good against Yoshi. So I think that's probably where he struggles. But just still a crazy character, even despite that. Because when he gets in, he's going to hurt you. And he has a lot of tools, a lot of mix to adapt to a lot of different game plans. So don't sleep on this character. A character that I had been saying is a bit underrated for a while and people don't talk about too much, Samus. I think Samus is a strong character. Yeah, one of the weaker high tiers, but Samus, man, the zoning game that Samus has with her charge shot, neutral, her missiles, her Zair, and the fact that when you get too close to her, she has a frame 6 up B at a shield. What? Samus is crazy. Some of the best lead trapping in the game, or one of the better lead trappers in the game. Tether recovery to help her out. Yeah, this character is really hard to deal with, honestly. Really good Samuses, it's so hard to get in on them and to keep up your advantage state because they're just keeping you out constantly. And yeah, I mean, me as Bowser, I'm just getting laddered by this character and zoned out all the time. So it's a pretty frustrating matchup. I think Samus is just frustrating overall to play against, for me at least. but still just a good character. I mean, we saw Let's Make Big Moves. There were 4 Samus players in the top 16. 4 Samus players. So this character is well equipped to make it far in bracket. This character has all the tools they need. They do kind of get beat sometimes by just the better characters, the anti-zoning characters, but still, I think Samus is just good. So this character fell off a bit, but I personally still believe this character is still good. Inkling. We saw a lot of Inkling early meta when Cosmos was pushing the character, and in the beginning of the game, people were like, oh, is this the best character in the game? Well, no. We've seen definitely a steep drop in Inkling results after Cosmos stopped playing her. But I still think this character is nice. I think this character is being slept on right now, but I think that Inkling is just good. I mean, the frame data that they have, the low profiling nonsense, they have a kill confirm with up throw up air. Recovery is not like super amazing, but it gets back from pretty deep. So, yeah. I think it's just a good character. Right now, they're not really being played or pushed as much. There's still some good Inklings out there, but nothing like what we saw early in the game. But I would never sleep on this character. I think that this character still has a lot of potential with the confirms that you can get and the setups that you can come up with as Inkling, the damage output that you can have. Inkling maybe struggles to kill a bit, and they are a bit on the lighter side, but I personally am an Inkling believer. I think we'll see more Inkling in the future. I don't see this character being any less than high tier, but okay, you know, one of the weaker high tiers is fine. Another character that has fallen off a bit, mostly due to nerfs, is Pichu. In the beginning of the game, Pichu would have been up here pretty easily because of how overtuned Pichu's moves were. But they eventually wound up nerfing some of the damage or knockback or whatever on definitely F-Tilt. I forgot if they did it to anything else. And they increased the amount of self-damage Pichu does to themselves. So Pichu definitely took a hit. But I still think this character can do it. This character is small, hard to hit, good recovery, very strong combo game. This character has sort of what Pikachu does, where they can lightning loop you, but Pichu does it with back air instead. But it still works. At least it works on Bowser, anyways. So Pichu still has some really good strength. I think the problem with Pichu now, though, is, I mean, this has always been the problem with Pichu, is you're the lightest character in the game and you're dealing damage to yourself. So a lot of times people can play really passive against you and just kind of let you stab yourself in the foot, you know, just doing all this self-damage with your T-Jolts and your Thunder moves, whatever damages him. So it is a little counterproductive because when you're the lightest character in the game and a lot of characters have moves that just explode you, it does hurt a bit. A lot, actually. Pichu just explodes sometimes, and they rack up a lot of damage on themselves. So it's a little unfortunate, but I think the strengths that they have honestly keep them out of the mid-tier, just with such a devastating combo game and recovery and all that, and being so small and hard to hit. But definitely a fall from grace after those nerfs. So we can't get too far without talking about this guy, Kazuya. It is possible that I'm misplacing Kazuya here. He could easily be anywhere in this range, honestly. He is fairly new. I think I'm going to put him here, though. So Kazuya has the discussion around him with potential. Him having a lot of potentials with him having so many inputs and a lot of crazy zero to death stuff. And I agree. I think this character does have a lot of potential. And potential is something to consider, I feel, when thinking about how good a character is. That's why Shulk is so high. But I think the thing about Kazuya is, as much potential as he might have, his disadvantage is so awful. Kazuya trying to land is like miserable. Kazuya trying to recover can be really hard against some characters, and he's a big body, so he just eats a lot of combos too. So yeah, I think Kazuya struggles a lot. It's sort of like a Luigi-esque. I mean, it's kind of a Shoto problem anyways. Like, when people are up close and you're in advantage, you can sauce people. But disadvantage is really hard. And if you're not getting your zero to death stuff, then you're just struggling the whole match. His laser projectile is really slow. He has a reflector though. That, I mean, we take those. It's kind of weird, but we definitely take those in a game like this. But yeah, I think it's a good character. I think Kazuya can make it far. I think he can definitely get some upsets with him being so new and having so much crazy stuff like a reflector, a command grab, all these inputs that stun you and link you into stuff. I think Kazuya is a good character. I personally, when I watch him, I think his disadvantage just holds him back a lot, though. Like, even with all the potential that he might have, you're still going to have to play disadvantage at some point, and his is bad. So, yeah, that's why I put him here. Alright, it's time for the big man, the man himself, Bowser. He's actually the best character in the game. Thank you for coming. No, I'm kidding. Bowser, lower end of high tier. Honestly, he might be better than Kazuya. He honestly might be. I put Kazuya above him for the potential or whatever, but he might just be better than Kazuya. I think Bowser is a good character. I think he's definitely the lower end of high tier. I could see an argument for top of mid tier maybe, but I don't even really buy into that argument because Bowser, for being the heaviest character in the game, he is fast. His airspeed is decent. He has really fast options, really does not struggle to kill whatsoever. One of the best ledge trappers in the game, can 2-frame for free. Up B plays the game for you sometimes. Side B is an easy bake baby option to get kills. Low percent grab combos. Yeah, Fair does everything. Bowser is a good character. He might be just better than Kazuya, because even Bowser's disadvantage is bad, but it might just be a little better than Kazuya's, especially because you live longer. I don't know. I think these two are very close to each other, though, and there definitely is a debate for who's better. But I'm just going to put Bowser here and say I think he is a pretty damn good character, and while he has some abysmal matchups, I think he can make it really far, and possibly, I mean, I've won majors, but he could possibly, maybe someday we'll win a super major. You know, I don't know. I'm just saying. But yeah, I believe in Bowser. I think the characters in the high tier section are just good characters that can go really far and maybe go all the way in the right hands on the right day. Luigi. So with all these characters here, it's really hard to gauge power levels. Like, is Kazuya better than Bowser? I don't know. Is Luigi better than Kazuya and Pichu? It's hard to tell, really. It gets really hard to tell, which is why it's loosely ordered. But I think Luigi is around here. I think Luigi is around the bottom of high tier. Maybe middle of high tier at best, but probably closer to mid tier. Luigi has probably the best grab game in Smash Ultimate. He grabs you and you just die a lot of times. And even if you're lucky enough to not die, you're still taking a billion gazillion damage from this character. So, strong grab game, very strong. The thing is, that's really his biggest strength. Outside of that, Luigi is kind of meh. His projectiles, whatever. His recovery is exploitable. He doesn't have much range. His down B is cool because it kind of armors through stuff and you can get out of bad situations with it. But I really think he's a little polarizing because he's super over-centralized around his grab game and the rest of his kit being, whatever. But I still think he's a good character. And I think that he is... maybe there's a debate for mid-tier, but I personally think that he is probably the lower end of high tier. And I mean, we've seen what Elegant can do. Elegant's amazing with this character. He's gotten such high peaks. We really don't see many other Luigis outside of him, or like any. I mean, there's the legend Kiarash, but yeah, outside of that, it's kind of barren for Luigi. But I still think it's a solid character. Another potential kind of character, which we haven't seen much from, but I still think has a solid enough kit to be here, is Link. So as far as results, Link, there's really not much going on. I've heard T from Japan, not the Pac-Man player, but T the Link player, has made some noise over there recently. I haven't seen it. There's a really good Link over there named Rito, who's pretty good. But we really don't see this character. I still think that this character, despite having almost no representation, is just a solid character. Strong kill moves, Strong zoning game. You get a lot of creativity with this character because you can detonate the bomb when you want to. You can pick up the arrows. So I think this character has a lot of mix, a lot of probably, honestly, yeah, like undiscovered potential. Good kill power, like I said. Sharking with up air is good. Link is a solid character. I don't see this character being bad, honestly. Maybe I could see an argument for mid tier. Anything that's past basically Inkling, Pichu, maybe even Samus, I can see an argument for mid tier. But I think Link is just solid. I don't think he's bad. His recovery can kind of be a little telegraphed, and he's a bit bigger, so he eats a lot of combos. But he has the kill power, he has the zoning, the creativity. So I like this character, and I would love to see more out of Link in the future. I'm gonna put Rosa here. Rosa, when I look at her, probably close to being a mid tier. But I think Rosa has some undeniable strengths, mainly her anti-zoning capability. And if you can play anti-zoning in this game, I think that's a big strength just because of how strong a lot of zoners are. So I can see her faring well against Samus. I can see her doing okay against Pac-Man, Mega Man. So she wins, or at least in my brain, I see her doing good in some relevant matchups. So her spread is not bad. I feel like she's a bit tall. She gets hit by a lot of stuff. She's on the lighter side. And it's really, compared to Smash 4, it is really easy to bully Luma. In Smash 4, Luma was like a fortress where you'd hit her a lot and she'd still live. But in this game, it's Bowser bias maybe, but it's super easy to whack away Luma. So Luma sometimes is just absent for a lot of the game. So that is a weakness, but I think her anti-zoning capabilities, not really struggling to kill at all, I think puts her on the lower end of high tier. I could also see a debate for top of mid tier, but I don't think she's bad. My boy, Hero. Love this character. Hero, honestly, again, could be mid tier. I think Hero has some pretty good strengths though. Like I said before, anti-zoning is good in this game. He's a very good anti-zoner character with his shield and his bounce and his disjoints. So I think he does well against them. He also has a lot of creativity because menu lets you pick your playstyle a lot of times. You can get accelerate, now you're super fast. You get oomph, your damage output increases, psych up to secure the kill. And this character, his up B recovery is not good. It's definitely lacking. But sometimes this character just skips the edgeguard phase with Zoom, which is really strong. I would say half the time he has to recover, probably on average. I don't know, you guys can fact check me on that or whatever. But half the time, or maybe less, that he has to recover, maybe more, I don't know. But it feels often enough. He just skips the edgeguarding phase because he rolls Zoom. So, yeah, character is a little polarizing because he can get good RNG and he's godlike, or he can not really roll those zooms, not get the buffs that he needs, and he's lacking. He also doesn't have an up air, which is, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they made his up air what it is. It's literally almost non-existent. They could have given him a sword swing like Ike or something, and he would have been that much better at sharking, but he doesn't have an up air, and he is pretty clunky. His frame data is not good, but I still think because of his versatility, his anti-zoning, and not struggling to kill, I think that he is a solid character, and I think he has a lot of good uses in this game. I'm going to put Ike here. Ike, another character that had a strong early meta start with Leo winning tournaments with Ike, but has since fallen off a bit when people learned how to parry. I think Ike is still solid. I think he's still a fine character. He has good range, good kill power. He has some nice early combos. I think the problem with Ike is he becomes really telegraphed. If you parry his stuff, you just wait for his aerials and you just punish him out of that. His side B recovery is good. If he has to up B though, you're probably going to hit him. So his recovery is like, sometimes you're just hitting it for free, sometimes you're not though. But I think overall Ike is a strong character. Again, I could see an argument for mid tier. But I think because of his kill power, his confirms, and the bit of mix that he has in his recovery, I think he's still a good character. Also his range too. So Ike is a scary character to have to go up against. just a little bit clunky, honestly. A little clunky, which is why I put him at the bottom of high tier. But I could honestly see mid just because of how clunky he is. Like, he is really clunky and really exploitable with how slow he could be with his aerials and his smash attacks. But not a bad character by any means. This is gonna be a weird one. I think Mii Brawler I think Mii Brawler is actually good, and Mii Brawler is kinda underrated right now. This character has a lot of good stuff going for them. First off, you have a bunch of different moves to choose from, which all the Miis do, and that doesn't really save them or the other ones. But I think Brawler's Kid is just a little stronger. He has a flip kick move, which is really good for mobility, getting off ledge, or doing some crazy mix-ups. He has command grab, which is nice. He has shot put, which is a good projectile to edge guard with. And his base kit is not that bad. He has throw combos. He has a sex kick nair that is actually really freaking good. He has like a frame 5 or 6 up smash. Yeah, this character actually has the sauce. This character really does. I think this character can make it really far. Maybe we're just waiting for the right person to push them, possibly. But I think this character is okay. Not the best, obviously, which is why he's here, but I still see him as a viable character. I'll put Bayo here. I think Bayo's a fine character. Bayo is really good at racking up damage with her specials. So side B into up B, whatever. So she has that. She has Witch Time, which is good at getting kills or starting combos or whatever. Bats Within is really annoying too because it just gets you out of situations sometimes. So actually Bayo, instead of bottom of high tier, I could see her being a little bit higher up. But I'm going to put her here for now. I think she is a little lacking because it feels like sometimes she struggles to kill. Please don't get upset at me for saying that. But maybe that's a Bowser thing. I've lived to like 1,000,000% against this character consistently. So it might be a little Bowser bias. But yeah, I think Bayo's cool. I think she works. She can get relatively far. I just think maybe she's a bit lacking to some of these other characters, but not bad by any means. And I think calling her mid-tier, maybe, but I personally see her as a high tier with her damage output and her recovery. Her strengths are kind of undeniable, so I'll put her here. Some people are going to get mad at me for this, but I'm going to rank these characters about around the same power level, even though they're different characters and they work differently. I think I see them sort of maybe struggling with the same stuff. Please don't get mad at me. But Ryu and Ken, the Shotos, they're strong up close. They're some of the best brawlers in the game. If you're playing a character like Bowser or Falcon, or even maybe Roy, that has to be on top of the Shotos, they're gonna win in those scrap scenarios. They're gonna win all the time because their scrapping is just so good. Their burst damage up close is insane. They're really good. I don't really know too much of the in-depth differences between Ryu and Ken. Like, apparently Ryu is more campy or something. I don't know. But I feel when I watch them or when I play against them, I feel like they wind up losing to the same things, which is any character that doesn't really need to be on top of them. So zoners or sword characters, things like that. Yeah, I feel like they wind up losing to pretty much the same archetypes. I think any character that doesn't need to be close to you or can space really well around you or is just hard to hit in general, like Pikachu or Inkling even, I see the Shotos struggling with because, well, I mean, they're just not really equipped to deal with camping or to deal with range and disjoints like that because all of their magic happens up close. But I still think that they're solid characters. I think that they're definitely close to mid, like gatekeepers to mid, maybe top of mid, I don't know. But yeah, I think that they're still usable and they can still make it far. Like, Shotos can still kick some ass. I think the problem is they just struggle with a lot of characters harder than some other characters might. But still good. So I was rewatching the footage before I got into the mid-tier section, and I realized that I forgot to place two characters who I'm pretty sure are high tier, so I'll do that now. Young Link, definitely, in my eyes, a solid high tier. I don't see him being a mid-tier. Where would I put him? Probably a little bit better than Inkling. I don't know if he's as good as Samus, though. Samus might be a little better. Maybe they're, like, comparable. But I think Young Link's probably right around here. And the other character I didn't place was Sora. Sora's a little weird because Sora's a bit new, and people are still kind of figuring him out. The meta still needs a bit of time to advance. I think Sora is a good character. He's got a solid kit. He is one of the best recoveries in the game. Counter, really good for edge guarding. Annoying zoning setup pressure with his neutral B. And he has all those fun confirms and Nair loop combos and stuff. So I think Sora is a fine character. I know a lot of people have been looking down on him lately, but I think he's okay. I might put Sora right around here, probably. I can see him going up at worst. I don't know if he goes down, and I misspelled high tier. Amazing. But yeah. So Sora, Young Link, I put them in this tier. I think that they're solid high tiers, but not as strong as the ones above them. Let's get into the mid tiers. Lucas. I think Lucas is one of the best mid tiers. I think Lucas has really strong counterpick potential. For example, maybe Pikachu or some other maybe energy-based zoner type character. I think that he has a strong neutral kind of with his side B and his Zair, so he can kind of just wall you out pretty well. Decent aerials too. He has 2 spikes that can be really devastating for edge guarding. This character is actually pretty good at edge guarding with his spikes and his down smash, or even PK Thunder to just intercept and interfere with their recovery. So I think he's a solid mid tier. I think he's one of the better mid tiers. Struggles with range a bit. He has the same issue that Ness does, where his recovery kind of sometimes gets a little dumpstered, but he has a tether to help him with that. So his recovery probably is a bit better. It is a bit better than Ness because he has a tether and it just goes further than Ness's. So yeah. But at the end of the day, I would call him mid, but not bad by any means. I think this character has some really good uses, and I would think that we'll see more of him in the future. Some people might get a little mad about this one. I'm gonna put Corrin here. I think Corrin is a solid character. I'm gonna use that word a lot, describing the mid tier, solid, because they're not bad by any means. And even with Corrin, it is very possible we really haven't seen Corrin's true power. I mean, I'm pretty sure of that actually. That the right rep has not had their chance maybe, or hasn't had their day or whatever for us to see Corrin's true strength. I think Corrin is a pretty okay character though. You got really good disjointed aerials that are really good for sharking and spacing. Recovery is hard to contest. Projectiles, it's okay. It's not that great, but it's not that bad either. So I think Corrin has some pretty good tools. That back air, yeah, Corrin has some good stuff going for her. Honestly, I think the lack of representation is what makes me see this character as a mid-tier. Maybe she's a little bit better than this. I don't see her being worse than this. So, yeah, I think Corrin is maybe a sleeper character that is actually pretty good, but so far we haven't seen it, so I'll put her here for now. Next up is Pit. I think Pit is an okay character. I think Pit, in my eyes, when I think about Pit, I see him as a pretty decent all-arounder, you know? He doesn't have the best kill power or damage output, but he has enough of it to the point where it's not like he really struggles to kill, maybe against like Bowser or something like that, but he has just a pretty overall decent kit. His multi-hit aerials, his 2 reflectors, his multiple jumps. He's okay. He's okay. I think at the end of the day, maybe he does wind up being a little weaker compared to the characters above him. I wouldn't say he necessarily struggles to kill as hard as some other characters, but it is harder for him probably, because at some point he just needs a smash attack or some kind of edge guard, which, yeah, it's a little rough. Like, he doesn't have anything easy to confirm into or anything like that. But, I don't know. I still think he's okay. He has a really annoying projectile, too, so I think Pit's a fine character. I unfortunately, though, I don't see him any higher than mid. But still, you know, even mid in this game is not terrible. You can still schmoove with a mid tier. I'm not saying he's bad by any means, so yeah. I'll put Meta Knight here. I don't know what it is in my mind. I feel like Meta Knight should be better. He has one of the best recoveries in the game. He can make it back from anywhere. Some characters struggle against him really hard when they're off stage, like Bowser, because it's so free for him to just drop down with a Nair or a back air or a neutral B Or even he gets that a cheeky spike with side B, which is really good against Bowser and probably other super heavies like DK, where the down B, you just angle it towards the ledge and it hits them and sends them down. It's like a semi spike or something, and it's really hard to deal with for a lot of characters. So I think Meta Knight has insane recovery and gimp potential. I think the problems with Meta Knight is his neutral is non-existent. I mean, his game plan is so telegraphed. In neutral, he literally has to go in because he has absolutely no range, and he needs to either dash attack you or grab, basically. Those are his two big things for getting something started. So very telegraphed neutral, like extremely. I can't stress enough how lacking his neutral is. When he hits you, he can get a lot of mileage off it, but sometimes his combos don't even work. Or you'll get it and then it doesn't kill and they just have rage now. So yeah, Meta Knight definitely struggles on stage. I would say this character shines pretty well off stage though. When you're off stage against Meta Knight, you are literally his plaything in a lot of matchups. So I think that's probably his biggest strength, is just his off stage potential. But just because he's so lacking on stage, I unfortunately don't see him any higher than mid tier. But still, strong tools. Like a lot of characters in this tier are going to have strong tools. Mewtwo, I think Mewtwo's alright. He has, his side B is really good. His side B is a reflector kind of command grab style move. So if somebody's shielding on a platform, it'll just yank him out of shield. So that move is actually pretty good. His forward air, he has one of the best forward airs in the game. It's good for killing. It's good for, I guess, out of down throw. I see Mewtwo's get it a lot. It's good damage. It's just a good move. He has two really strong throws for killing, his up throw and back throw. And yeah, charge shot neutral, teleport recovery. I think this character is solid. The problems with Mewtwo is obviously his tail hitbox screws him over a lot, so he winds up getting hit by some ridiculous thing. He's a bit on the tall side, and he's pretty light, so he winds up getting confirmed into things easily and dying early. And I guess he feels a little, I don't know how to describe it, he feels a little rigid sometimes, though. Like, maybe his movement is not the best. But, I don't know. I still think he's a fine character, but definitely a mid-tier in my eyes. I would see Mewtwo having some pretty good matchups though, and working really well as a counter pick. Or maybe if you're nice with it, you know, you can get far solo Mewtwo. I'm not going to count any of these characters out. Next, I will put Toon Link. Toon Link has some impressive strengths, being a small zoner character with a pretty good projectile game. Toon Link's good at walling people out, and because he's smaller and on the harder side to hit, he can get away with a lot of stuff. I think Toon Link's alright. It's hard for me to say what it is about Toon Link. He definitely is lacking compared to the other Links, I would say. Maybe, he definitely has less range than the bigger Link, and probably a bit less kill power, and his frame data is not as good as young Link. So, in my opinion, he winds up being the weakest of the Links, the weakest Link, if you will. But he's still okay. He's not a bad character by any means, and I think you could do it with this character. The setups that you can get with him, the mix, the creativity that you have. I think all of the Links have such good mix and creativity, and Toon Link's no exception. So I wouldn't ever count this character out. I just think compared to the other Links, and I guess most of the roster, he is a little lacking. But I don't sleep on these characters. The mid-tier zoner, yeah, don't sleep on that. Can't get too far without ranking Villager. Villager, I can honestly see Villager being a bit better than some of these characters. Villager has strong zoning game, very good edge guarding with Bowling Ball, nice trap setup game with his tree and his Lloyd Rockets. Yeah, Villager's not bad. And Pocket actually gives him a pretty decent amount of versatility. So, you know what? Actually, the more I think about it, I'm going to move Villager up a bit. I think Villager is a pretty okay character, and one of the better. I think Villager is probably at the top of mid-tier, honestly, because he has some really strong tools. His Pocket is so good, and it gives him that versatility against zoners or characters with a strong projectile like Wolf. So, yeah, I think... I mean, he still probably loses to Wolf, but having an answer to Wolf's Laser or Pikachu's Thunder moves or things like that, it's not something to sleep on. So I think Villager is a nice character. His problems, I guess, wind up being his range and just getting outclassed. I would say he gets outclassed by a lot of the characters above him. He probably does good in some of these matchups, but they still wind up being better characters than him at the end of the day, I feel. But not to be underestimated, because this character has some really good stuff going for him. Zelda is, in my opinion, one of the most obnoxious characters to fight. But that is because her setup game is actually pretty strong. She sits on one side of the stage and sets up with Phantom, and it's a guessing game on your part. Are you going to jump over it? Are you going to try to challenge her and hit her to cancel it out? Or are you just going to respect it and shield it or get away from it? You know, and I feel like with that, she can condition you pretty well. So I think Phantom is actually a strong tool. Her neutral B is a good get off me kind of move. It doesn't really work out of shield like that, but if you're in her range and you whiff something, you're going to get Zelda neutral B. So yeah, teleport recovery with a hitbox. So this character is actually kind of hard to two-frame and stuff like that. Yeah, I think her setup game, her wall out game is strong. Her recovery is decent. I just think outside of that, I mean, her aerials are explosive, but the hitboxes are really janky. Like, fair and back air have a super sweet spot, so if you don't hit the sweet spot, they wind up not really being that good. Up air is slow to come out. Down air is a small hitbox. So her aerials are not really that good. Her tilts are whatever. Yeah, her normals are not that great, honestly. But her special game and her ability to wall you out and condition you with that is something to fear. So Zelda's got some good strengths going for her. I just think, again, gets outclassed by the characters above her, but not to be underestimated. Time for a weird character, Wii Fit Trainer. I think Wii Fit can be a strong zoning type character. She has a charge shot neutral, her soccer ball leads to some wacky setups, and her deep breathing is, yo, watch out for that move. That move is actually so crazy. Deep breathing, even me as Bowser, I have to respect that move because that move will kill me absurdly early. So deep breathing is a really strong mechanic, and her zoning is okay, you know? I think probably the biggest issues with this character, I personally, it might be a Bowser main thing, but I find that Wii Fit struggles so much to get off the ledge. I feel like that's where I get most of my mileage against Wii Fit, is just when I have her trapped at the ledge, because it feels like it's really hard for her to get off. And if your character can deal with soccer ball, and I guess her charge shot well enough, then her game plan kind of falls apart a little bit. So yeah, good strengths, but also some very exploitable weaknesses. But with how strong deep breathing is, I'm always going to fear this character. I will never count this character out because deep breathing can just erase your stocks. Another weird character. This one might surprise some people that I'm going to put this character a bit higher up than some might think. Mii Gunner. I think Mii Gunner is actually maybe a bit underestimated. The thing about Mii Gunner, and the reason I can't see Mii Gunner being a low tier, is this character just has really powerful zoning. This character has really crazy ledge trapping and zoning options that are just really hard to get around sometimes. So I think if you're a strong enough zoner in this game, I personally, in my opinion, I don't see you as any worse than a mid tier, because yeah, zoning is just so annoying and tilting and hard to deal with, and for some characters, dealing with a zoner is just kind of miserable. So, spoiler alert, I think there's going to be some other wacky zoners here in the mid tier, or at least one that I could think of. So, yeah, I think that just because of the mix that you get and the strong zoning and the matchup unfamiliarity that everybody has with this character, or maybe not everybody, but at least me and a lot of my friends have with this character. Yeah, I think a decent enough character. I think just because of the trait of just being a zoner in this game that can ledge trap and doesn't struggle to kill, has a charge shot. Yeah, pretty scary. Speaking of wacky zoners, King K. Rool. This character, okay, so this character he's got some glaring flaws, okay? He's a super heavy, so he gets juggled, comboed a lot. His recovery is actually so horrible in some matchups. His recovery in some matchups is just like, how do you get back against Sephiroth with down air and counter? How do you get back against Lucina? This character's recovery is probably one of his biggest weaknesses. It's that and being a super heavy big body that gets comboed hard. And I guess having some pretty exploitable lag on some of his moves if you know how to play around it. But he has some good strength going for him. He has his neutral air, probably his best move, or at least one of them, can help you land a lot. So his disadvantage actually winds up not being as bad as the other super heavies because he can just armor through a lot of stuff and fall and land with Nair. He has armor on a lot of his moves, not even just Nair. He has it on up air, down air, forward tilt, maybe some other more moves that I'm forgetting about, but he has a good amount of armor. His transcendent projectiles can be really annoying to deal with. Command grab. Yeah, this character has some strong tools. And a down throw that buries. So you can confirm into things if your timing is on point and you can anticipate your opponent's smash. You can get an up smash out of it. You can get an up air out of it. You can do a dash attack. Yeah, I've seen Kirby Kid mix people with this character. So, I think overall an okay character. And not as bad as some people might think. Some people might call him a low tier or something like that. I think he's a very solid mid tier. The next mid tier that I will talk about, although I think this character is one of the weaker mid tiers, is Puff. I can see Puff. A lot of people, I've heard people call Puff a low tier. I don't think so. I think Puff has some crazy things going for her. I think the thing about Puff is you need to be really precise. You need to be calculated, and you need to really know your stuff when you play this character. If you do that, her recovery is okay. Her confirms are very strong. Rest is just gonna absolutely destroy you. If you know the punish windows on some characters, you can confirm into it with Sing. For instance, if Bowser whiffs up B on Puff's shield, if you time it perfectly, which is probably not that hard, you can just Sing into Rest on Bowser. So that's a strong option in the matchup. And I'm sure Puff has a lot of other stuff like that I probably don't even know about. So yeah, I think Puff's is okay. I think Puff's problems are just being so light, having no range. So she winds up losing, I would imagine, to some zoners and swords. Or probably most of them. I would guess. This is just a guess. I don't play Puff. I don't really watch Puff like that. I've seen Base Mage do some magical things with this character, though. So I'm a Puff believer as a mid-tier. Maybe a bit better than some of these characters. Maybe this is about right. But just with how powerful she can be, and how the creativity that this character allows, I think she's okay. I am going to put the Belmonts here. The Belmonts towards the lower half of mid-tier. I think that these characters have amazing counterpick potential, though, perhaps. I think their zoning actually is really strong. So maybe if you've got a Luigi in your region that you're struggling with, whip out the Belmonts. I don't know. Their zoning is strong. Holy Water is really obnoxious ledge trapping. And then their normals with the whips are actually really strong, too. The Belmont's biggest problems are just their being combo food and also their recovery. Their recovery is actually the biggest problem that they have because sometimes you just knock them off stage and they just die. If you're able to intercept their tether recovery, yeah, they're not making it back. Like, they just die. So I think that is their biggest flaw, honestly. But I think the kill power this character has, the setups, the beautiful setups that you can get, T3 Dom, sorry. I think that, yeah, that is something worth considering when we talk about how good this character is. I just think the recovery just really holds them back. Honestly, that probably is the biggest thing, is their recovery. If they were able to recover or just had a better recovery that wasn't so easy to gimp and wasn't so hopeless sometimes, they would probably just be straight up high tier, honestly. But the recovery, yeah, it holds them back a lot, in my opinion. Alright, I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me for this next placement. A lot of people are going to disagree. I'm probably going to get some nasty comments about this one. But I'm sorry, friends. I am a Marth non-believer. I don't think Marth is that good. I don't think he's as good as people like to claim that he is. I think the problem with Marth is you pretty much, in order to make him work, you need to be really precise compared to other characters. With Marth, you really can't afford to consistently miss the tippers. You have to get them a lot. Like, sour spots are okay here and there, but if you're just hitting them with sour spots over and over, they're not dying. You're just building up rage on them. Yeah, it could be rough for Marth. If you can get those tippers consistently, which, to be honest, at the highest level, nobody really has. I've seen Marth at regionals or local levels do pretty well in the hands of very skilled players, but I think Marth sort of just falls apart because you need to just always be accurate. You have to, and more so with him than probably any other character. Your spacing needs to be super on point. If you're not getting those tippers, you're not killing, you're not doing that much damage. So yeah, I think Marth is lacking, honestly. And I know people are going to flame me for this. That's fine. I mean, I know results aren't everything. This tier list is not about results, but I think maybe results are considerable, you know, because Marth has none at bigger events. Marth has pretty good results at like a local regional level, though. And there are some very skilled Marth players out there that I know of that I think personally can push this character. I just personally don't really believe in Marth that much, but I think at his highest peaks, he can be a really nasty character, but it's going to take a lot to bring that out. Okay, I'm sorry, Banjo fam. I really am. Banjo is not really that good, though. I'd put Banjo, if we're being optimistic, he's middle of mid-tier. I think probably realistically he's the low end of mid-tier. I think this character has some really fun zoning, some really cool setups and confirms with his eggs. And he can really oppress you at the ledge. His ledge trapping is actually really good with grenade and down tilt and down smash 2-framing. Yeah, Banjo's pretty good at that. He has some wacky confirms out of down throw too, but they're pretty much fake for the most part. If your opponent just mashes out really fast, then you can't really do anything. But still, Banjo has some cool stuff going for him. I just think he just winds up being weaker, you know. His damage output is really not that great. You see all those crazy ladder combos with eggs that do like 10%. So damage output is not good. Kill power is okay. Wonder Wing is one of his stronger moves, but it's very predictable and loses to command grab. So if you play against a character like Ridley can just fly off stage with side B and just intercept your Wonder Wing. So Wonder Wing winds up not being that great. And if you whiff it on stage, you're going to get punished. So, yeah. Character has some strengths, but unfortunately, in my opinion, the weaknesses outweigh the strengths. That doesn't mean we don't love him, though. I love Banjo. I love playing him casually, and I encourage the Banjo players to keep it up. Everybody playing any of these characters, just keep doing what you're doing, keep pushing. Don't listen to anybody saying your character's bad or whatever. Just do your thing if you believe in them, you know? And I think the Banjo players, maybe a Banjo could have a crazy run, a little Cinderella Banjo run, where they get top 8 or win a crazy tournament. I believe. Okay, next up is Robin. This character, strong zoning. This character actually has a lot of mix and some really good ledge trapping. Her side B is very good at ledge trapping. She has a charge shot, which she can actually be very versatile with because it could either be the Little Thunder, which is a quick projectile. You could charge it into the multi-hit Thunder move. And then you could charge it into the big Laser Beam Thunder. I think there is another Thunder variant too that's just a strong projectile. So I think there's 4 variations of Thunder. So that move has a lot of mix. She has a command grab. She has really strong aerials, actually. You can't really jump against this character a lot of times because her aerials are just so powerful and good at stuffing you out. So she has that going for her. Like I said, strong ledge trapping. I think the problems with this character are she's a bit on the clunkier side, gets comboed easily. Her recovery is okay. It's not that bad, but it's not that great. And also her being a resource-based character, so sometimes she just runs out of stuff mid-fight. That is pretty limiting to her, in my opinion. So Robin is a bit lacking, but some very fearsome strengths to look out for. Never underestimate this character, especially if you're at the ledge. If you're at the ledge against Arcfire, that is a crazy guessing game you gotta play. And personally, I'm pretty bad at it. Like my local Robin, Jewel, I still haven't beaten him yet. So yeah, I think any character could do damage, and Robin is no exception. Duck Hunt, another wacky zoner character. Duck Hunt has a good wall out game, some good setups, a lot of creativity. Yeah, Duck Hunt's projectiles can be kind of unbearable actually if you're not very good at the matchup, or even if you are. I mean, they're still really annoying. I think Duck Hunt's problems are pretty much getting invalidated by anti-zoning or just oppressed by the top tiers. Like, honestly, Duck Hunt, a lot of characters are just better than Duck Hunt, and they're really good at showing it when they play against them. We don't really see Duck Hunt make it very far in bracket. But I think this character does have some strong setups that are worth considering, you know? Maybe good as a counter pick character. I just think reflectors and top tiers and disjoints and things like that really give Duck Hunt a lot of trouble. But I mean, personally, in the Bowser matchup, it's really hard to get in on Duck Hunt. So Duck Hunt, I can see Duck Hunt having some value there against characters that need to go in on you. Duck Hunt could just keep them out all day and confirm them into things with their multi-hits and all that, with multi-hit up air, multi-hit side B. So yeah, I think Duck Hunt has some solid strengths going. Okay, my personal favorite character in the game, Incineroar. This character is so hype. I love Incineroar. I love his poses, his voice lines. I love his explosiveness. He's so fun to play against and watch. Personally, I'm a big Incineroar fan. However, he is one of the weaker mid tiers, and honestly, I could even see an argument for low tier. I think this character has some really good moves. Down tilt's a really good move. Up air, really good move. The command grab is alright. The problem with this character, two problems, are recovery, pretty exploitable, and the biggest problem that everybody knows about, Incineroar is just really slow. Incineroar just has such trouble getting in, to the point where I don't really know what you're supposed to do against zoners as Incineroar. You can down B and revenge over and over again, but even then, if you just can't get in, then it just seems like misery. Like, how are you supposed to fight Min Min as Incineroar? How are you supposed to fight Samus? You just revenge over and over again, but you have to get in eventually, and these characters are really good at not letting you. So with the slow run speed, slow ground speed, exploitable recovery, I think Incineroar is one of the weakest mid tiers, possibly a low tier, but that does not erase how much I love him, and he will always be my favorite character. Alright, with the mid-tier all wrapped up, I'm going to start getting into the low-tier characters. Low-tier means they're obviously not anywhere near as good as the characters above them, but I think even still at Ultimate, a low-tier can give you a lot of sauce, and they still have their strengths. It's just they just wind up getting outclassed. So I think the best low-tier, in my opinion, probably Ridley. There's a lot of debate whether he's mid or low. So I've seen people call him high-tier, which I think is insane. But I could see Ridley being maybe the lower end of mid-tier, probably. I think he has some good stuff. He has a lot of range. He has good kill power. He has a command grab, which is good for mix-ups. His recovery could be kind of hard to hit sometimes. He has a lot of schmicks, a lot of sauce. His aerials are nice, too. That Nair, geez. So Ridley has a lot of good stuff going for him. I just feel like his disadvantage is really bad. Ridley's trying to land. I mean, he has the multiple jumps to mix up a bit, but it's still really hard. He's really clunky in the air. He struggles to land, which is rough. He's a big body, but he's actually... He's a heavy, but he's a bit lighter than you'd think. Like, he's lighter than Samus. So, yeah, he does struggle a lot, honestly. Having such a huge hitbox, he gets comboed, confirmed into everything, and not being as heavy means he doesn't have the survivability of a super heavy. So it's a bit rough for him. But I still think he has some good tools, and I think he has some pretty decent matchups too. Like, I've heard people say Ridley does okay against swords, and I could see that. I mean, he has the range. He has the neutral B to stuff out a lot of recoveries, like Chrom, for instance. So I think he, in the right hands, Ridley can be a force to be reckoned with. Okay, another one of the better low tiers, and people honestly might get really mad at me for putting this character here, but I mean, Listen, I've played Bowser Jr. for years. I was a Bowser Jr. main, the release of Smash 4, and in Ultimate, I played him a lot in this game just to see how it works. I think Jr. is a low tier, unfortunately. I could see the argument for mid tier, maybe. I just think, I don't know, when I play him, it just feels like he gets so outclassed. It feels like he struggles so hard sometimes because he has some of the worst projectiles in the game. His side B is sort of like bootleg Sonic side B, kind of. So it's kind of his approach game is pretty bad, and his zoning game is not great either. I guess maybe you play him more like a trapper kind of character, but his down B being a billion frames to actually like get out of the animation, his neutral B being really slow and easy to avoid. His projectiles feel pretty fake. His approach is very linear. Yeah, personally, having played this character a lot, I just think he's lacking, like, a lot. He has some crazy stuff, though. His grab combos at low percent are very scary. And he has some confirms, too. Some crazy confirms. Like, if you can catch somebody at the ledge with up B, you can do up B into cartless neutral air to just erase people's stocks. So he has some sauce. He has some setups that a Mecha Koopa, too. This character, in the right hands, can be really scary. I'm talking really scary and really hard to play against. It's just, compared to the characters above him, I feel like he does struggle a lot to approach, and his zoning trapping game is really weak, which is unfortunate because that's his theme as a character, really. Mecha Koopa is really easy to play around if you know how to play against it. I mean, you just shield and just pick it up. But still, a character with a lot of sauce potential, I think. So next up, I think I'll put DDD. DDD is notoriously not a great character. A very popular character, though. A lot of people like to play this character, I feel. I feel like I see a lot of them on Quick Play compared to a lot of the other characters. DDD, his weaknesses are pretty obvious. He's a super heavy, so he gets comboed by everything. And he just has a lot of lag on a lot of his stuff. So it's kind of easy to punish him sometimes. But he does have some really crazy strengths. He has a command grab, which is nice. And it's a fairly quick command grab that you could easily use in the air and B-reverse and things like that. So his command grab's actually pretty nice. And his ledge trapping is also... His ledge trapping is easily his strongest attribute. You set up with Gordo at the ledge, and then it's just this crazy guessing game of, what do I do to deal with Gordo? Do I get up attack it? Do I try to jump around it? Do I time a standard get up? All the options could be right in different circumstances, but it's always a really hard guessing game that favors DDD, I would say. So his ledge trapping is nasty. It's just being such a big body and not really having too much to offset it is rough. He's got those multiple jumps, though, which helps him recover and mix up his recovery a lot. Command grab is nice, has a bit of range, not really lacking kill power, so DDD can be a force to be reckoned with as well. It's just hard, though. It's a hard life as a DDD main. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna put Kirby here. I think Kirby is a low tier. He has very little range, so he struggles with that. Sometimes I found when I play him, I don't know if it's a Kirby problem, but sometimes if I'm on like a platform stage, my combos get a little messed up. My forward throw, extension, that just might be me, but I feel like sometimes his moves kind of don't work. Doesn't have much range, and yeah, he definitely just struggles with getting in compared to the rest of the cast. Kirby's definitely down here. Kirby also has some good strengths, though. All these low tiers have a lot of sauce. He has devastating game at a grab if he can get you with it. I mean, I've experienced it firsthand playing against J-Jaw a million times. You get grab, forward air, down air. It's very scary. Command grab, but also copy ability, so you get a bit of versatility in how you play every matchup because you can either have the command grab or you can steal their neutral B and kind of play around with that. Like I was watching a tournament and it was Kirby versus Olimar, and the Kirby player inhaled the Olimar and took his neutral B, so it turned into this really crazy war of attrition kind of, where they were just both throwing Pikmin at each other and trying to open up each other with the Pikmin. It was really interesting to watch, honestly. So I think Kirby's Kirby has some mix. He has some versatility in his game. I feel like at the end of the day, he does struggle a lot, but never underestimate a Kirby player who knows what they're doing because they can really adapt to a lot of different matchups. Next up, everyone's favorite DLC character, Piranha Plant. Piranha Plant's a really interesting character. He has some really interesting trap style setups. His neutral B is actually really strong. Bowser, for instance, Bowser main here. I personally struggle against this character when he sets up a neutral B because it's just like, what am I supposed to do? I can't jump in at them. I can't grab them. So it's really weird. So neutral B is a really nice tool. They can put on a lot of good pressure with their side B and their down B. So this character is really interesting, and honestly, I'd love to see more from this character. I guess what makes them struggle is they're overall just a bit clunky. If you can catch their neutral B and maybe you just quickly grab them and use grab armor to deal with it, or if you can catch their down B, things like that, hit their recovery. Plant does have some pretty obvious openings, and overall is a pretty clunky character. Their aerials are not that great. Their normals are kind of whatever. So, yeah, Plant it definitely gets opened up sometimes. But I think a very interesting character, and I'd love to see more from this character because I think, like I said, I think the low tier in this game is not too far off from being able to make upsets and get far in brackets. So we'll just see what happens. Okay, Ice Climbers. I think they're also here in the low tier. A character that I think, well, we've seen what this character can do, right? This character sort of has that touch of death aspect about them where they can grab you once and just totally delete you. So Ice Climbers wind up always being scary. For me personally, they always wind up being scary to play against because even though they are down here, they still have a lot. They pack a punch. They grab you and they can just kill you. I think the problems with Ices, though, is basically the main problem with this character, I feel, when I watch them, you're relying on an AI that sometimes it's like, what the heck is the AI doing? Or your AI, your Nana just gets knocked away, gets killed, or you get separated the whole stock and you can't get your stuff off. So, yeah, I think the character is flawed by design. But I don't think... I think in the right hands, Ices are really scary. Like, I've seen Big D and what he can do with the character. Terrifying, honestly. So I would never underestimate this character. I'm going to put Lucario here. I could see an argument for Lucario being a bit higher. In terms of order, I do think he's a low tier, but I could see him being further up on the list. I think, kind of like Ices, Lucario is flawed by design, because Lucario's design is that he's supposed to get up to high damage output, not high damage, high percents to be able to kill you really easily, right? So he builds up Aura, he builds up Rage, and he hits you with some crazy Lucario stuff, and you're just dead. So when that happens, Lucario is terrifying. I think the problem is, against a lot of characters in this game, you're not really gonna live long enough to see those things happen. Like, if you had to play a Roy, for instance, Roy is just exploding your stuff. Or Snake, or a Heavy, or characters that keep you out really well and can kill you really well, like Min Min. I feel as if Lucario doesn't really get to play his game at all against a lot of the cast, which I think is what puts him in the low tier. So I think he's just flawed by design because he needs to take all this damage before he becomes a character, but then it's not like he's it's not like he's Bowser K. Rool weight where he's living alone. He gets there and he dies fairly easily. So I think, yeah, Lucario does struggle because of that. However, when this character is in the zone, where you're in the Lucario zone, like this guy is at 150 plus and you're having a hard time finding that kill, and he is just moving around, yeah, that's scary. Lucario is terrifying. Out of all these low tiers, Lucario with Aura has to be probably, for me, the scariest thing to have to deal with because he can just explode you, and he can confirm into stuff too with his neutral B. I've been hit with charged neutral B, use the hitbox to hit into back air. So Lucario has some wild freaking stuff. It's just, I think by design he's just flawed because he needs to be in kill percent to get there, and he's not heavy. and he doesn't really have the range, so he just struggles. He is, in fact, the leader of the bunch. DK is down here. DK, unfortunately, it has never been easy for our boy in this game. DK is a big body, gets hit with a lot of stuff, struggles to land very hard. This guy has no landing options. His options in disadvantage are not good. Recovery, extremely exploitable. You got a counter. Congratulations, you got DK. You got a down air. Congratulations, you can get DK. Yeah. His recovery just loses to a bunch of stuff. So DK at the end of the day is not. He's more than almost certainly a low tier. Maybe DK Optimus will put him in the mid tier. That's fine, but I think he's down here. He does have crazy sauce though. He goes wild sometimes. When he starts hitting you with his grab combos, with his ding dong, his back air is a really good move. He actually has some good aerials. His back air is very good. His up air is quick and strong. He has some good aerials. He has pretty good edge guarding game with back air. He has a kill confirm with ding dong. He has some armor on some of his stuff, like up B, side B have armor. I just think that he's just overall just very lacking in disadvantage, and he doesn't have the other things that some super heavies have that are just make them better. Like Bowser has his crazy speed and easy big kills. K. Rool has his projectiles and his armor. Isidore has revenge and his really good normals and stuff. DK is just a little lacking compared to them, I think. But a good DK main, I think, in the right hands, as with any character in the game, DK can be extremely scary and explosive. Okay, Mii Sword Fighter. This is the worst Mii. I think it's probably unanimously agreed that Sword Fighter is the worst Mii. For a Sword Fighter, they're actually a zoner character, which is really interesting. At least the better setups I've seen of Mii Sword Fighter are zoners. This character has some okay stuff. Decent zoning game. Also, some interesting confirms. You can get like Tornado into up air, or down throw into up air. The Chakram is interesting because the Chakram kind of, people get stuck in it, so you can kind of set up out of the Chakram into some shenanigans, I don't know. And then a lot of people just don't know this matchup at all. So Mii Sword Fighter has some pretty good mix, some strong zoning tools and confirms. I think it just, at the end of the day, the zoning just gets outclassed. I did say before, mid-tier zoners, the zoner archetype is pretty good and can only be so bad in my opinion. I think this and another character are probably the worst zoners because I feel as if they just get outclassed really hard and it's really hard to make them work. That's just how I feel when I watch them and when I play them. Speaking of low tier zoners, Isabelle, another one. Isabelle was a character I personally had a lot of hope for when the game came out, because I had a lot of fun playing this character early meta. Her fishing rod is really funny. Her setups are really cute, you know. She has some real fun stuff going for her. I just feel like it doesn't work out at the end of the day. Her range on her normals are pretty much not there. Her up tilt's okay, but her tilts aren't really hitting anybody, and her smash attacks aren't really that great. So her strength is supposed to be in her wacky setup game. She has kind of like this Looney Tunes cartoon setup thing going, where she looks for these wacky setups with fishing rod and her Lloyd Rocket down B to secure kills or edge guard or whatnot. But I feel like it winds up not really being that effective a lot of the time. I feel like Isabelle winds up being a little clunky, hard to use, and honestly just gets super outclassed by the characters above her. She runs into a Spacey, she's done for. Any of the top tiers give her the sauce. So, yeah. This character is really fun though. Honestly, I would love to see an Isabelle main or Isabelle mains, whatever, just pop off in tournament, because this character is fun to watch. The fishing rod leads into some cool setups or edge guards, or it kills with up throw. The Lloyd Rocket, you can confirm off of it to get an up air to kill people. So she has some sauce. She has some wacky setups, but I just feel like at the end of the day, she's just missing something. Getting into the bottom tier, the unfortunate worst characters in the game, which I personally think are in a league of their own for how weak they are. So I'll start with Little Mac. I think Little Mac, there's maybe an argument for him being a tier above. There definitely is. I see it. Little Mac, surprisingly, he has a crazy strong ground game. He has some of the best smash attacks in the game. His tilts are nice and they lead into stuff. He can ledge trap pretty well, or I guess put on pressure at the ledge with his down smash. So he has some good stuff going for him. It's just the problem, we all know the problem. The two main problems with Mac, well, the main problem is he is not an air fighter at all. And I think in Smash Ultimate, you need to be at least somewhat proficient in the air in order to have a shot. Mac does not work in the air, so the two problems wind up being his recovery is not that great, very easy to hit, doesn't have too much distance, although it is deceptively okay because you get your air dodge, you get side B, up B, so he can kind of make it back from some surprising distances, but it's still very easy to two-frame or just intercept his recovery. So there's the recovery, and then he doesn't have aerials, you know? Up air, down air, these are not moves. These are non-existent. Whenever people get kills with them or get anything, it's always a clip because, wow, you use Little Mac's aerials. That's incredible. You're amazing, you know? So shoutouts to Peanut for making this character work because it's really hard. Honestly, it's very, very hard. Not having aerials and having a very hard-to-use recovery. Yeah, Little Mac definitely struggles a lot, but the ground game, though, very, very scary. KO Punch, very scary to deal with. So Little Mac has some stuff. Okay, the doctor is in, Dr. Mario. Doc, I guess the main thing about Doc is why on earth would anybody play Doc when Mario is literally right there? Mario just is such a power creep on Doc. It's so crazy. Doc, his problem, he just doesn't have range at all. He's very slow. Much like Little Mac, his recovery, you could use it, but it's not as good as a lot of recoveries above it. Not even close. So, yeah, he winds up struggling to get in. He struggles a lot with recovering. Just overall, just a very lacking character. What he does have, though, is a very strong projectile and Pill. Pill's good in neutral. It's good for gimping people. So, Pill definitely does work. He has a surprisingly good out of shield game with up B out of shield. His down B is strong. This character's damage output is nice. And then he has good gimp potential with, like I said, Pill, and then also Cape. So Cape works just as well as Mario's Cape, obviously, so it's a menace for Bowser. His down air is really fun, too. Like a just true spike down air. But at the end of the day, I think the bad outweighs the good with Doc. I'd be very interested to see a Doc specialist make this character actually work, though. So we'll see what the future has for him. The final character, and unfortunately the weakest character in the game, in my opinion, Ganondorf. Ganondorf, okay, let's get his weaknesses out of the way first, okay? Super heavy, confirmed into everything, comboed into everything. Yeah. Linear recovery, which is easy to hit, intercept, gimp him. He has that. Very slow moves, slow to come out, easy to punish. Yeah, Ganon winds up being just... And I feel like all of those things on Ganon are very, very easy to punish and easy to take advantage of. He's very slow. So it definitely hurts Ganon. So yeah, Ganon definitely struggles. His strengths, though, his aerials are pretty nice. I wouldn't sleep on his aerials. His neutral air, his up air, are you serious? Yeah, he has some nice aerials. 2 command grabs, by the way. 2 command grabs, which is crazy. So you're not safe on a platform. You're not safe in shield because this man can command grab you till the cows come home. So there's definitely that. His smash attacks are deceptively fast. I mean, they're still punishable, yeah, but at least for me on Wi-Fi, I feel like I struggle to punish him all the time when he does it. And also, one of the strongest things about Ganon is he just has the fear factor. Ganon being one of the worst characters in the game, being the king of evil, super heavy, hits so hard, it's really scary to go up against him because whenever I fight him, my head starts rushing. It's like, oh god, it's Ganon, you know, I can't lose to Ganon, he's so bad. And then he winds up hitting me with stuff, and he gets a down air, and he breaks my shield and all that, and I'm just like, oh my god, you know? So Ganon has some actually surprisingly strong attributes about him. It's just the bad definitely outweighs the good here. Ganon winds up struggling a lot. But don't underestimate the King of Evil. Okay, so there you have it. The Leon 2022 tier list. This is just my opinion, of course. This is my perspective on the meta from playing a bunch of these characters and from watching them a lot. It's roughly my opinion of how good they all are. So it's just an opinion. That's all it is at the end of the day. There's no definitive tier list. There's no set in stone. This is facts. It's just speculation and opinions right now. So yeah, I just want to say the tiers are loosely ordered. So it's kind of hard for me to say, well, is K. Rool really that much better than Puff, or is Samus really that much better than Kazuya? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to definitively make claims like that, especially in a game like Smash Ultimate, where there's so much nuance, and some characters are really strong in other matchups, but they suffer in different matchups. So it's really hard. But roughly, this is what I'd say my take is on the game. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for clicking on the video and checking it out. If you could like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment with your thoughts and be nice, of course, that'd mean a lot to me, and I would really appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for getting this far into the video, and yeah, I'll see you next time.